Hey guys, welcome back to day 8 of 10 albums over 10 days. I am doing that Facebook thing where I'm picking 10 albums that had a huge impact on me and doing it day over day. Also, I'm recording all of these in one day to get them all knocked out so I can have all these ready for you in a timely manner. And I've also been drinking throughout each of these recordings. So, all right, Steve Vai. My number one guy. I was introduced to him at age 15 and listened to the entire catalog by the time I was 16. Like most Steve Vai plebs, I thought that Passion and Warfare was his best album and my favorite album, though Alien Love Secrets definitely was in contention there and making me think twice about it. I would actually love to do a video on Alien Love Secrets alone, just because there's so much to talk about with that album. But yet again, my way too much weed-filled days at college come a-knockin' into this story. The album Fire Garden was the unsuspecting cute girl that you think is just your friend and you don't really expect to go any further with it, but then she turns out to be your soulmate. At first I thought it was a cool album. There were definitely several tracks on it that I really enjoyed, but I didn't really fall in love with it as quickly as some of the more appealing Steve Vai albums out there, the more audience accessible ones. But undeniably, on most Steve Vai records, there are tracks that I skip through. I'm like, you know what? Don't need to enjoy this today. Don't need to enjoy this one today. On Fire Garden, I do not skip tracks. I can listen the entire way through and have an amazing listening experience. I remember this so freaking clearly. 19 years old, riding around backcountry roads on a burn ride with my friend Aaron. It's fall, the leaves are absolutely beautiful with multiple different colors, the afternoon sun smolders, only ever so slightly eclipsed by the softest marshmallowy clouds. Then, 2:36 of Fire Garden Suite kicks in, and one of the most perfect moments in my life happens. The music of this beautifully hopeful and curious piano guitar duet perfectly encapsulated in music this moment that I was having with my friend. You can ask him too. To this day, we still feel so amazingly about that particular part of the song. Easily my favorite part of that song. I believe, weirdly enough, that this is actually a concept album, though I don't know what the concept is. The first half is completely instrumental, and then after the Fire Garden Suite, there is this vocal transition piece, which is very soft, very simple, but it's pretty, it's nice. And then all of the following tracks, except for the last one, have vocals on them. I could look up interviews or Wikipedia articles explaining the whole concept of this and what the intention was, but possibly for the first time in my life, and maybe even the only time in my life, I don't want to know. I don't want to be told what the correct answer is. I want to figure it out for myself in whatever way I need to figure it out for myself, as I've kind of always done with this album. I want to come to understand it better over time as I become wiser, not because somebody imparted their wisdom to me, and because I have faith that the ultimate conclusion is worth the journey, or possibly even vice versa. This album is absolutely still very magical to me to this day, and I don't know any other album I can really say that about. Track highlights. The Crying Machine. This song is just mad groovy. It has a super, super tasty slap bass line, and a big part of what sells that bass line is the tone. Really cool, simple melody is the theme of the song. Blah, da, da, blah, da, 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 like, dude, it's so good. And the way that it just gradually transforms throughout the song is so somehow noticeable, yet gradual and natural at the same time. The ending with the dueling guitar solos going back and forth pretty much purely reminds me of just having the best sex you're ever gonna have. Dying Day, easily one of the more underrated Steve Vai tracks in my opinion. That beautifully warm, rich guitar in the intro, that acoustic guitar, it's a lot drier than what you would expect from an acoustic guitar, but it has a very rock feel and tone to it, with great melodies, such good melodies, man. That's really the basis of my love for this album, is just the amount of awesome melodies. Somehow it has this air of dirtiness and heaviness, yet still very uplifting and floaty and kind of hopeful. Hand of Heart, which is his kind of existentially hopeful instrumental track. It's a ballad, and there's one modulation in it that just really transcends the song to the next level. And I think Steve Vai's articulation and his playing on this are some of his sweetest. So I'm smashing these two tracks together, and it's Bangkok followed by Fire Garden Suite. Bangkok is intentionally supposed to be an intro to Fire Garden Suite. I completely understand if you think it's too weird. It definitely is a bizarre, very Eastern music, timbre, and some rhythm inspired track. There's a lot of sitar twang to be had there, but it so perfectly sets up Fire Garden Suite. If you just listen to Fire Garden Suite starting from the beginning, it comes out the gate pretty aggressive, but you have such an awesome dynamic intention build coming out of Bangkok that it's so fucking worth it. It's so worth it. And Fire Garden Suite, don't even get me fucking started. This was the track that made me realize, holy fuck, this album is incredible. I'm pretty sure this is my favorite Steve Vai piece. It's just too good. Little Alligator is such a great little track. With a, fuck, how long is that guitar solo? Like 2.5 minutes? Okay, it's a little over 2 minutes. Still, that's an incredibly long fucking guitar solo, man. Especially for such a simple blues-driven, slightly funk groove. And one of his best guitar solos, very underrated. There's so much expression in his articulation. Oh, Steve Vai doesn't play with feel. You fucking cunt twerp. Yeah, listen to that solo. Listen to that fucking solo. All About Eve, a beautifully mystical composition and spatial experience that talks about existentialism from the perspective of man to God and how that reflects of man versus woman, I believe, as well. It's so fucking weird, but so gorgeous. That is one of my favorite compositions of his. An amazing chord progression. And at first, I always thought it was weird. I never really liked it when I first listened to it, but as I really started to understand it more, as I listened to it more, I was like, oh wow, this is genius. Like, this is really genius. Brother, very simple ballad. He pulls back all of what could be perceived as pretentiousness and makes it just a really good, tasty ballad talking about his brother and his father and the love that he has for him. And that track resonates a fuck ton with me on a very personal level. And Warm Regards, the track closer. Man, just so many feels, so many goosebumps with that one. Which the intro and then most of the backing track actually reminds me a lot of the Halo soundtrack. It really does. It seems like they used some of the similar patches. The drums and the synths and the pads, like they all sound quite similar. So those are my blithering thoughts on Fire Garden. Let me know what your thoughts on Fire Garden are in the comments below. If you missed the last 7 days, go ahead to the link in the description to the playlist there. Get caught up. Also, play along at home. Let me know in the comments an album that had a huge impact on you. And if you missed any of the other ones, go back and leave your comments on those as well. And I will see you tomorrow. Rock on.